The small hand pressed against the observation window left no mark. Lyra pulled it back quickly, checking to make sure nobody saw. She was not supposed to be in the viewing gallery after rest period, but sleep never came easy anymore. Outside, ships docked and departed from refuge, 7 in their usual patterns. Lyra watched families leave with their new children, the lucky ones who got picked. 3 years she had been here. 3 years of standing in the greeting hall while prospective parents walked past her to choose someone else. Her wing membranes ached tonight. The left one especially, where the crystalline structure was breaking down faster than the doctors predicted. She folded them carefully against her back, the way other Quilven children did, but hers did not shine properly under the station lights. They looked dull, damaged, wrong. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Lyra turned to see Director Pemeth approaching, her long Dralian features soft with concern rather than anger. "Child, you should be resting." "I cannot sleep, Director." Pemeth sighed and joined her at the window. They stood in silence for a moment, watching a transport vessel align with the docking bay. "The Renfield family sent their decision today," Pemeth said gently. "They have chosen to adopt young Pax instead." Lyra nodded. She already knew. The Renfields had barely looked at her during the meeting 3 days ago. She saw their eyes move to her wings, saw the slight downturn of their mouths, saw them glance at each other with that look. The look that said she was not good enough. "Pax will be happy with them," Lyra said. It was true. The small Dralian boy deserved a good home. "There will be others, Lyra. The right family will come." "You have been saying that for 2 cycles now, Director." Pemeth had no answer for that. What could she say? They both knew the truth. Quilven families wanted perfect children, ones who would grow to fly among the crystal spires of their homeworld. Lyra would never fly properly. Her wings would continue to degrade until she could barely glide, much less soar. Other species might have considered her, but the center had few visitors from outside Quilven space. Most species kept to their own when it came to adoption. It was simply the way of things. "Get some rest, child. Tomorrow is a new day." Lyra returned to her small room after Pemeth left. The space was clean but bare. She was allowed personal items, but there seemed little point in decorating when she might need to leave at any time. Except she never did leave. Not with the family, anyway. She sat on her sleeping platform and ran her fingers along the edge of her damaged wing. The doctors did what they could, but the condition was genetic, progressive, incurable. She would live a normal lifespan, they said, as if that made everything acceptable. She would simply do it as a cripple among a species that valued flight above almost everything else in the darkness. Lyra whispered the words she had been holding inside all day. "No one will ever adopt me." The statement hung in the air, true and terrible. She was 7 cycles old, and already she understood her future. The center would keep her until she reached maturity. Then she would leave to find work somewhere, somehow. Perhaps in a place where broken wings did not matter so much. She finally fell asleep imagining such a place, though she could not picture what it might look like. The next morning brought the usual routine. Washing, dressing, morning meal in the common area with the other children. Lyra sat with the younger ones who still treated her kindly. The older children, the ones closer to her age, had learned to avoid her. Being near the unwanted girl might somehow mark them as unwanted too. Director Pemeth moved through the hall, checking on everyone, offering encouraging words. She paused at Lyra's table. "We have a supply delivery arriving today. The donor specifically requested to tour the facility." Pemeth spoke carefully, as if the words meant more than they seemed. "That is nice, Director. The donor is human, Lyra." Every child within earshot went quiet. Human. The word carried weight in this part of space. Everyone knew about humans. The Deathworlders who ended the frontier conflicts with such brutal efficiency that the entire galaxy agreed to peace rather than face them again. Lyra had never seen a human before. Nobody at the center had. They kept to their own space mostly, doing their cargo runs and keeping their distance. Most species preferred it that way. "Why would a human come here?" one of the older children asked, voice shaking slightly. "To deliver medical supplies," Pemeth said firmly. "And we will treat our guest with respect and courtesy. All of you." But Lyra saw the tension in Pemeth's shoulders, the way her hand trembled slightly as she adjusted her administrative tablet. Even the director was nervous, The rest of the morning crawled by. Lyra attended her lessons with the educational programs, but her mind wandered. What did humans look like? Were they as frightening as the story suggested? Did they really come from a world so dangerous that it made them into natural fighters? After midday meal, alarms chimed to signal a ship docking in Bay 7. Lyra was supposed to go to her therapy session for her wings, but she found herself drawn instead to the upper observation deck, where she could see the docking procedures. The ship that connected to the station was small, built for efficiency rather than comfort. Clean lines, minimal markings, the kind of vessel a single pilot might operate for cargo runs. The registration codes on its hull identified it as human-made. Lyra watched as the docking tunnel extended and sealed. Somewhere below, the human was entering Refuge 7. Her heart beat faster, though she could not say if it was fear or curiosity driving the rhythm. She should go to therapy. She should follow the rules. But instead, Lyra stayed at the window, waiting to see if she might catch a glimpse of the creature everyone feared. 2 years before arriving at Refuge 7, Daniel Cross watched his entire unit die in the span of 14 minutes. They'd been evacuating a Quilvan mining colony when the habitat supports failed. Daniel was the medic, not a combat specialist, but in those final moments, everyone fought to save lives. His squad leader, Rivera, held a collapsing bulkhead with her bare hands while Daniel pulled civilians through. Chun ran back into the fire 3 times to grab children. Okoye kept the escape pods powered even as the reactor leaked radiation through his suit. They saved 247 civilians. All Quilvan, all strangers to Earth and humanity. Every single human soldier died doing it. Daniel survived because Rivera threw him into the last escape pod and sealed it before he could protest. He survived because his people made sure of it, and he had hated himself for it every day since. Now he sat in the cockpit of his cargo runner, staring at Refuge 7 through the viewport while his ship's AI waited for him to move. "We're docked, Daniel. The station director is waiting for you. I know, Iris. You have been sitting here for 11 minutes. I know." The AI went silent, but Daniel could sense her disapproval in the way the cockpit lights dimmed slightly. Iris had been his companion for the past year, installed when he bought this ship with his discharge pay. She was more than a navigation system. Somewhere along the way, she had become the closest thing to family he had left. "You manipulated me into coming here," Daniel said finally. "I suggested a course that would benefit you psychologically. The manipulation was minor. This is an adoption center, Iris. I do not need a child. I need to be left alone. Respectfully, Daniel, that assessment is incorrect. You need purpose. You need connection. You need to remember that you are more than your trauma." Daniel closed his eyes. The AI was right, which made it worse somehow. He had been drifting for months now, taking cargo jobs that kept him moving, never staying in one place long enough to form attachments. Food had no taste. Sleep brought nightmares. The days blurred together into a gray nothing that he could not escape. "Fine, I will deliver the supplies and leave. That is all." He gathered the medical equipment he had brought and made his way through the airlock. The station's docking area was clean and well-maintained, designed to be welcoming for the various species that visited. Soft lighting, temperature controls, air mixture regulators for different biological needs that a tall Dralian woman waited for him. She stood very still, her posture careful and controlled. "Welcome to Refuge 7. I am Director Pemeth. Daniel Cross. I have the medical supplies you requested." Her eyes flicked to the containers he carried, then back to his face. She was nervous. Daniel knew that look well. Most non-humans got that expression around his kind. Humans had a reputation now, one built on the bodies of their enemies and the ferocity with which they protected their allies. "Thank you for your generosity. If you will follow me, I will show you to the supply storage." They walked through corridors filled with the sounds of children playing. Daniel glimpsed them through open doorways. Dozens of species, young ones waiting for families to choose them. Some laughed, some studied, some sat alone with that particular stillness that came from too much disappointment. His chest tightened. He walked faster. Pemeth took him to a storage area and helped him catalog the supplies. Medical scanners, tissue regenerators, pain management systems. Everything a facility like this might need to care for children from across the galaxy. "This is very generous," Pemeth said again. "May I ask what prompted such a donation?" Daniel kept his eyes on the inventory list. My unit died, saving Quilvan civilians. Seemed right to help Quilvan children. Pemith went very still. When Daniel finally looked up, her expression had shifted into something complicated. Grief, perhaps, or guilt. You were at the Kelmar mining disaster. Yes, we heard about what your people did. How they. She trailed off, searching for words. How they died, Daniel finished. You can say it. They completed the inventory in silence. Daniel was preparing to leave when a sound stopped him. Someone was crying, the kind of suppressed sobbing that came from not wanting to be heard. It was distant, muffled by walls, but his ears had been trained to catch sounds like that. Wounded soldiers try to hide their pain, too. What is that? Pemith looked uncomfortable. One of our children is receiving treatment. The process can be painful. Can I help? You are a medic. Was. During the war. Pemith hesitated. Daniel could see her weighing options. She was afraid of him, that was clear, but she was also responsible for children in pain. Finally, duty won over fear. This way. She led him to a medical wing where a small Quilvan girl sat connected to several machines. The child's wing membranes were spread across diagnostic fields, and Daniel could see immediately what the problem was. The automated treatment system was calibrated for standard Quilvan physiology, but this child's condition was different. The machine was working too hard, applying too much pressure. The girl had tears running down her face, but made no sound of complaint. Something in Daniel's chest cracked. He moved without thinking, his medic training overriding everything else. Within seconds, he had adjusted the machine settings, recalibrated the pressure points, and modified the treatment angle. The girl's expression shifted from pain to surprise to relief. Better? Daniel asked. She stared at him with wide eyes. 4 of them, arranged in a pattern across her face that was distinctly not human. She was alien, completely foreign to everything he knew, and she was looking at him like he might hurt her. Yes, she whispered. Thank you. Daniel nodded and stepped back. His hands were shaking. When was the last time he had helped someone? When was the last time he had done something that mattered? Pemith was watching him with a new expression. Less fear, more curiosity. What is your name, child? Daniel asked. Lyra, I am Daniel. Your wings, they are damaged. They are broken. I am defective. The word hit him like a punch. Defective. This child thought she was broken, worthless, unwanted. He knew that feeling too well. You are not defective, Daniel said firmly. You are just different, and different is not less. Lyra blinked all 4 eyes at him, as if no one had ever said such a thing before. Lyra had spent her entire life being careful around others. Careful not to extend her wings too far. Careful not to ask for too much attention. Careful not to hope for things that would never happen. But when a human said she was not defective, something inside her chest shifted, like ice beginning to crack. Daniel adjusted the last setting on the treatment machine and stepped back to observe his work. Pemith hovered near the doorway, still uncertain but no longer actively afraid. How long have you been receiving this treatment? Daniel asked. Since I arrived here. 3 cycles. And it always hurts like that. Lyra nodded. The doctors say pain is normal. That my condition makes everything more sensitive. Daniel frowned, the kind of expression that suggested he disagreed strongly, but was being polite about it. Pain can be a signal, but it should not be constant. The machine was working against your specific physiology instead of with it. He spoke to her like she was intelligent enough to understand. Most adults simplified their words around her, as if damaged wings meant a damaged mind. Lyra found herself sitting up straighter. You know about Quilvan physiology? I learned during the war how to treat wounded civilians from a dozen different species. His voice went quiet on the word war, as if it hurt him to remember. Were you a soldier? Medic. I fix people more than I fought. But you are human. Humans are warriors. Daniel made a sound that might have been a laugh, but carried no humor. Humans are whatever we need to be. Sometimes that means fighting. Sometimes it means healing. Pemith cleared her throat. Daniel, thank you for your assistance. Lyra needs to rest now. Of course. He moved toward the door, then paused. Lyra, would it be acceptable if I checked on you tomorrow? To make sure the adjustments are working properly. Lyra's hearts beat faster. You're staying on the station? My ship needs maintenance. Might as well stay a few days. After he left, Pemith helped Lyra disconnect from the machine. The director's hands were gentle, but her expression was troubled. You should be careful around him, child. He helped me. Yes, but humans are complicated. They can be kind and dangerous at the same time. Lyra thought about that as she returned to her room. Dangerous and kind. The combination seemed impossible, yet Daniel had been both gentle and efficient. His hands had been steady on the medical equipment. His voice had been soft when he spoke to her. That night, she slept better than she had in months. Daniel returned the next day, and the day after that. He claimed to be checking the medical equipment, but he always spent time talking to Lyra. He told her about planets he had visited. She taught him words in the Quilvan language. He never seemed bothered by her wings, never stared at them the way others did. Other children at the center began to notice. They would peek around doorways to catch glimpses of the human, then scatter if he looked their way. The adults were worse. Staff members found excuses to avoid the medical wing when Daniel was there. But Daniel never seemed to notice, or if he did, he chose not to care it on the 5th day. He brought a small device that projected images in the air. I thought you might want to see Earth, he said. Lyra watched as her room filled with pictures of a blue and green world. Oceans that seemed to go on forever. Mountains that pierced clouds. Forests so thick you could not see the ground from above. It looks beautiful, she whispered. It is. Also deadly. Weather that can kill you in minutes. Animals that see humans as food. Plants that are poisonous to touch. He smiled slightly. We learn to survive anyway. Is that why other species fear you? Because you come from a dangerous world? Daniel's smile faded. They fear us because of what we did during the war. Because we were too good at violence when we needed to be. But you save people too. Director Pemeth told me about the Quilvan colony. About your unit. His hands clenched briefly. We did what needed to be done. They died for my people. For strangers. They died for what was right. Lyra wanted to ask more, but something in Daniel's expression stopped her. Instead, she asked about the oceans on Earth, and he seemed grateful for the change in subject. The pattern continued for days. Daniel would visit, they would talk, and Lyra would feel a little less alone. She began to look forward to his arrivals, began to notice the sound of his footsteps in the corridor. Then the Torvis family arrived. They were Quilvan, high status, looking for a child to join their household. Pemeth brought them through the center with obvious hope. This was the kind of family that could overlook a defect if they chose. The kind with resources to provide excellent care. Lyra was brought to the meeting room. She wore her best clothing. She folded her wings carefully. She answered their questions politely, but she saw their eyes when they looked at her damaged wing membranes. Saw the slight curl of distaste in their expressions. Heard the careful way they asked about her condition, as if confirming she was indeed as broken as they feared. One of them said something in formal Quilvan, the dialect used for official matters. Lyra understood it perfectly. Such a pity. The face is acceptable, but those wings. Imagine the embarrassment at social gatherings. Lyra kept her expression neutral. She had learned long ago not to react to such comments. The interview ended quickly after that. The Torvis family thanked Pemeth and moved on to meet other children, ones with better prospects. Lyra was dismissed back to her room. She sat on her sleeping platform and stared at the wall. This was normal. This was expected. She should not feel disappointed, but she did a knock on her door frame, made her look up. Daniel stood there, and his expression was dark. I understood what they said. He told her quietly, You speak formal Quilvan. I have been learning. Iris has been teaching me. He stepped into the room. You are not an embarrassment, Lyra. They are. They want a perfect child. I am not perfect. Nobody is perfect, and anyone who thinks otherwise is a fool. Lyra felt tears building behind her eyes. You do not understand. You are human. You are strong and capable. You come from a warrior species. I am just a broken Quilvan. Daniel knelt down, so they were at eye level. I have nightmares every night about the people I could not save. I cannot stay in one place because I am afraid of getting close to anyone again. I drift through space because I do not know what else to do with myself. Does that sound strong to you? She stared at him. You are broken too. Very much so. The argument with Pemeth happened 3 days after the Torvis family visit. Daniel had become a fixture at Refuge, 7 by then. His ship maintenance had been completed days ago, but he kept finding reasons to stay. Equipment to check. Supplies to organize, medical protocols to review. Everyone knew the real reason, even if they did not say it out loud, that he came to see Lyra. The other children had grown used to his presence. Some even approached him now, curiosity winning over fear. Daniel was always gentle with them, careful to move slowly and speak softly. But everyone could see that Lyra was different. She was the one he checked on first, the one he spent the most time with. Pemith finally confronted him in her office. You need to stop visiting her so frequently. Daniel looked up from the medical report he had been reviewing. Why? Because you're interfering with the adoption process. Families see a human bonding with her, and they become concerned. Concerned about what? That someone actually cares about her. Pemith's expression tightened, concerned that she is forming attachments that will make transition difficult. Concerned that a human's interest suggests something is wrong with her. That makes no sense. It does in their culture. Humans are death worlders. You do not adopt across species lines. Your interest is seen as unusual, possibly threatening. Daniel set down the report. So I should abandon her because it makes other people uncomfortable. I am asking you to consider what is best for Lyra. She needs a permanent home with her own kind. Her own kind rejected her. Multiple times. A family will come eventually. Will they? Or will she age out of the system, still waiting? Pemith had no answer for that. They both knew the statistics. Children with disabilities, especially visible ones, had much lower adoption rates. I care about her too, Daniel. But you cannot be her solution. You are a single human male with no experience raising children, much less alien children. You have trauma from the war. You live alone on a cargo ship. How could you possibly provide stability? Every word was true and every word cut deep. Daniel stood up. You are right. I should go. He left before Pemith could respond. Lyra was waiting in the medical wing for her afternoon treatment. She had been looking forward to it because Daniel always came during these sessions. They would talk while the machines worked, and the time would pass quickly. But today he did not come. She waited through the entire treatment. Waited after it ended. Director Pemith appeared instead. Lyra, we need to talk about Daniel. The way she said his name made Lyra's stomachs drop. Where is he? He has decided to leave the station. It is time for him to continue his travels. He did not say goodbye. I think he felt it was better this way. Lyra folded her wings tight against her back. I see. There's good news, though. The Renfeld family, the ones who adopted Pax, have a sister interested in meeting you. She's Quilvin and very kind. But Lyra barely heard her. Daniel was leaving. Just like that. She had known it would happen eventually. Everyone left eventually. But she had thought, maybe hoped, that he might at least say goodbye. She excused herself and went to her room. The projected images of Earth were still saved in her personal files. She pulled them up and stared at the blue world with its deadly beauty. No one will ever adopt me, she whispered to the empty room. This time the words felt heavier than before, because now she knew what it felt like to have someone care. Now she knew what she would be missing. Daniel sat in his ship's cockpit, staring at the control panel without seeing it. You are making a mistake, Iris said. I know. Then why are you leaving? Because Pemith is right. I am not qualified to be anyone's parent. I can barely take care of myself. You have been taking better care of yourself since you met Lyra. You sleep more. Eat more. You smile occasionally. That does not mean I should adopt her. Why not? Daniel ran his hands through his hair. Because what if I fail her? What if my trauma gets worse? What if I have an episode and I scare her? What if I am not enough? What if you are exactly what she needs? Iris, I'm a soldier. I know how to fight and kill and survive. I do not know how to raise a child. Then learn. You learned medicine during the war. You learned diplomacy. You learned 6 alien languages. You can learn this. It is different. Yes, this matters more. Daniel closed his eyes. The truth was he had been thinking about it. About what it would mean to have Lyra as family. About giving her a home, teaching her about the galaxy, watching her grow. About having a reason to wake up each day that was not just another cargo run to nowhere, but the fear was enormous. What if he was not good enough? What if he failed another person who depended on him? Run a search, he told Iris. Human-alien adoption. Requirements, laws, precedents. Already done. It is rare but legal. The requirements are extensive, especially for humans. Because we are dangerous. Because the galaxy wants to make sure you are stable. Psychological evaluations, background checks, home inspections, references. It will take months. And if I pass all that, then you would need Lyra's consent. She is old enough to have a say in her placement. Daniel pulled up the file Iris had compiled. Page after page of regulations and requirements. It seemed designed to discourage human applicants. Perhaps it was, but between the lines, he saw possibility. If I did this, he said slowly, I would need to be certain. I could not start the process and then change my mind. That would destroy her. Are you certain? Daniel thought about Lyra's face when she talked about topics that interested her. The way she helped younger children at the center. Her quiet acceptance of pain because she thought she deserved it. Her whispered words about being unwanted. No, he admitted, but I want to be. Then stay. Figure it out. Stop running. He sat in silence for a long time. Then he opened a communication channel to the station. Director Pemeth? I need to speak with you about adoption procedures. Pemeth stared at the formal adoption application on her desk as if it might bite her. In 20 years of running Refuge, 7, she had never received one from a human. The paperwork was extensive, the requirements strict, and the scrutiny would be intense. You understand what you are asking for, she said to Daniel, who sat across from her looking determined and terrified in equal measure. Eat dough. The Interspecies Adoption Council will investigate every aspect of your life. Your military record, your psychological state, your living conditions, your finances. They will look for any reason to deny you. Because I am human. Because humans adopting non-humans is unprecedented in this sector. They will want to ensure Lyra's safety. Daniel's jaw tightened. I would never hurt her. I believe you, but you need to convince them. Pemeth pulled up the requirements on her display. Psychological evaluation by 3 independent specialists. Character references from at least 5 individuals across different species. Proof of stable income and suitable living environment. Completion of interspecies parenting courses. And a formal interview with the council where they will question everything. How long does the process take? Minimum of 3 months. Often longer. And during that time, you may continue supervised visits with Lyra. But Daniel, you cannot tell her about this application. Not yet. If the council rejects you, it would be cruel to have given her false hope. Daniel nodded slowly. When do we start? Over the following weeks, Daniel threw himself into the process. He contacted former colleagues from the war, asking for references. Commander Liu, who had served with him on 3 campaigns. Dr. Yashiro, a Zinti physician who worked alongside him in field hospitals. Merchant Captain Oral, a Dralian he had protected during a pirate raid. Each one agreed without hesitation. Each one wrote testimonials that painted Daniel as competent, compassionate, and trustworthy. The psychological evaluations were harder, sitting across from therapists and reliving the war, explaining his trauma, admitting to nightmares and panic attacks, and the crushing guilt of survival. But he endured it because the alternative was giving up on Lyra. Meanwhile, he continued his visits to the station. Lyra never knew about the application. To her, Daniel was simply back after a brief absence, more committed than ever to checking on her well-being. I thought you left, she said during his first visit after filing the paperwork. I thought about it, but I realized I did not want to. Why? Daniel chose his words carefully. Because being here matters. You matter. Lyra's wing membranes fluttered slightly, a sign of emotion in Quilvan body language. I matter to you. Very much. She was quiet for a moment. Daniel, when you eventually leave the station for good, will you remember me? The question pierced him. I will never forget you, Lyra. Promise? I promise. What he wanted to say was that he was fighting to make sure he would never have to leave without her. But Pemeth's warning held him back. Do not give her false hope. The weeks turned into months. Daniel completed the parenting courses, awkward sessions where he learned about Quilvan dietary needs, cultural practices, and developmental stages. He was the only human in every class. The instructors were professional, but clearly uncertain about teaching a Death Worlder how to raise a child. He studied harder than he had for any military qualification. His ship was inspected and deemed unsuitable for raising a child. Too small, too utilitarian, lacking proper safety features and educational resources. Daniel used his savings to purchase a larger vessel with separate living quarters, a medical bay, and space for a child to grow at Iris helped him decorate what would be Lyra's room if the council approved. They studied Quilvan preferences for colors and lighting. They installed perches at varying heights, since even damaged wings needed accommodation. You are building her a home, Iris observed. I am trying. What if they say no? Then I will have a very lonely spare room. The final interview was scheduled for the end of the 3rd month. The council consisted of 5 members from different species, each an expert in child welfare and interspecies relations. They met via holographic link, their images projected in a conference room at Refuge. 7. Daniel sat alone at the table, facing them. Mr. Cross, began the Quilvin counselor, her wing membranes showing formal patterns. Your application is highly unusual. I understand. Your psychological evaluations show significant trauma. You have nightmares, anxiety, survivor's guilt. How do you expect to care for a child when you struggle to care for yourself? I did not expect it to be easy, but I have been improving. Having purpose helps. Having Lyra in my life has helped. A Dralian counselor spoke next. You live on a ship. You have no permanent residence. How can you provide stability? My ship is registered as my legal residence. It has been inspected and approved for habitation with a minor. We would travel, yes, but Lyra would have access to educational programs, medical care, and exposure to diverse cultures. What if your trauma worsens? What if you have an episode that frightens her? Daniel met the counselor's eyes. Then I will get help. I have therapists on call across 3 sectors. I have Iris monitoring my psychological state. I have friends who can step in if needed. I'm not asking to do this alone. I'm asking for the chance to do it at all. The human counselor, an older woman named Dr. Hayes, leaned forward. Why Lyra specifically? Why not wait and adopt a human child? Because Lyra needs someone now. Because she has been waiting for years while people overlook her. Because when I look at her, I see someone who deserves better than what she has been given. He paused. And because she makes me want to be better than I am. You are aware that you may face discrimination? That some will question your motives or fear your influence on her? Yes. And you're prepared to protect her from that. I am prepared to protect her from anything. The council members exchanged glances. The Quilvin counselor spoke again. We need to interview Lyra. She must understand what is being proposed and consent to it. Daniel's heart raced. She does not know I applied. Then it is time she learned. Bring her in. Lyra had never been summoned to a formal council meeting before. Director Pemeth came to get her personally, expression unreadable, and led her through corridors that suddenly felt too long and too short at the same time. Am I in trouble? Lyra asked. No, child, but there is something important you need to hear. The conference room held Daniel and 5 holographic figures she did not recognize. Official-looking individuals from different species, all wearing formal attire. Her stomach's twisted with anxiety. Lyra, Pemeth said gently, these council members are here to discuss your future. Please sit. She took the chair next to Daniel. He looked nervous, more nervous than she had ever seen him. His hands were clenched on the table. The Quilvin counselor spoke first. Lyra, do you know why you are here? No, counselor. Mr. Cross has submitted a formal application to adopt you. We need to understand how you feel about this possibility. The words took several seconds to process. Adopt. Daniel wanted to adopt her. The human who visited her every day, who adjusted her medical equipment, who told her she was not defective, wanted to be her family. I do not understand, she whispered. Daniel turned to face her. Lyra, I spent the past 3 months going through the adoption process. I should have told you sooner, but I did not want to give you hope if the council said no. I want you to come live with me, to be my family, but only if you want that too. Fry stared at him in shock. You want me? Very much. But I am broken. So am I. Maybe we can be broken together. Lyra felt tears starting. What would that mean? If you adopted me, it would mean you would live on my ship. We would travel to different stations and planets. You would continue your education and medical treatments. I would take care of you, and you would be stuck with me. He managed a small smile. I'm not perfect. I have bad days. But I promise I will always try my best for you. The human counselor, Dr. Hayes, spoke. Lyra, this is your choice. You can say no. You can wait for a Quilvin family. There is no pressure. But Lyra barely heard her. 3 years. 3 years of waiting and hoping and being rejected. 3 years of watching other children leave with families while she remained behind. And now someone wanted her. Not just someone. Daniel. The person who saw her as whole. Why me? She asked, needing to understand that Daniel's expression softened. Because you are kind to the younger children even when you are in pain. Because you are intelligent and curious. Because you make me laugh. Because when I am with you, I remember what it feels like to care about something beyond survival. He paused. Because you deserve someone who chooses you. And I choose you. The tears spilled over. I choose you too. The Quilven counselor's wing membranes shifted into a pattern Lyra did not recognize. Child, you understand this will be difficult? Living with a human will be different from living with your own kind. My own kind did not want me. Some humans may not accept you. Some Quilven may question your choice. Lyra looked at Daniel, at this strange creature from a death world who had learned her language and adjusted her medical equipment and promised to remember her. I do not care what they think. The council members conferred quietly among themselves. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the Dralian counselor spoke. We have reviewed all materials. Mr. Cross has completed every requirement. His references are exemplary. His preparation has been thorough. And most importantly, both parties consent. She paused. However, given the unprecedented nature of this adoption, we are approving it with a 6-month probationary period. During this time, there will be regular check-ins and evaluations. If at any point Lyra's well-being is in question, the arrangement can be reconsidered. Daniel nodded. Understand. Thank you. Do you accept these terms, Lyra? Yes, counselor. Then this council grants preliminary approval for Daniel Cross to become legal guardian of Lyra. Formal documentation will be processed within the week. The meeting ended. The holograms disappeared. Pemith excused herself to give them privacy, and Lyra sat staring at Daniel, hardly believing this was real. You really want me? She asked again, needing to hear it one more time. I really want you, even with my broken wings, especially with your broken wings. They make you who you are. Lyra launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around his neck. Daniel caught her carefully, mindful of her delicate wing membranes, and held her while she cried into his shoulder. I have never had a family before, she said between sobs. Neither have I. Not in a long time. We will figure it out together. The next few days were a blur of paperwork and preparations. Other children at the center gathered to say goodbye, some envious, some happy for her, all amazed that a human had adopted one of them. Lyra packed her few belongings, including the projector that showed images of Earth on the final day. Pemith walked them to the docking bay. Take care of each other, she told them both. We will, Daniel promised. They boarded a ship together. Iris greeted Lyra with a warm voice that sounded genuinely pleased. Welcome home, Lyra. I have prepared your quarters. The room was perfect. Soft lighting that would not hurt Quilven eyes. Perches at different heights. Educational displays. And on one wall, a large window showing the stars. Do you like it? Daniel asked nervously. I love it. That night, as the ship departed from Refuge 7, Lyra stood at the window and watched the station grow smaller. She thought about all the years of waiting, all the rejections, all the whispered words in the dark. No one will ever adopt me, she had said so many times, but someone had. Someone chose her. Someone wanted her exactly as she was. She found Daniel in the cockpit, plotting their course to the next station. Where are we going, she asked. There's a medical specialist 3 systems over who works with wing conditions. I thought we could get you an evaluation, see if there are better treatments available. And after that, Daniel smiled. Wherever you want. We have time to explore, to learn, to figure out this family thing. He paused. What do you think? Lyra climbed in the co-pilot's seat, her damaged wings settling comfortably against the chair back. Through the viewport, stars stretched endlessly in every direction. Her future, once so bleak and limited, now felt vast with possibility. I think, she said softly, that I am finally home. And for the first time in 3 years, when she whispered into the darkness, it was not a statement of despair. Someone adopted me. It was a promise, a beginning, a chance to be wanted, to be loved, to be whole despite the broken pieces. The Deathworlder and the defective child, building a family from shared scars and stubborn hope. Behind them, Iris dimmed the cockpit lights to a comfortable level and began playing soft music. Ahead of them, the galaxy waited. They would face it together.